floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear I've weighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golden Show here on the Blue Podcast. And today it is Premier League Predictions Day. So we'll either be looking like absolute geniuses by this time next year, or we'll like failures. So I'm glad to welcome George, my co-host here. George, maybe going head to head again on predictions. We'll find out the results for these ones for quite a while. You dominated me in the Euro, so I'm not all big enough today.
Yeah, obviously the key result was the final one, though, wasn't it? Where I thought England were going to win. Well, obviously I never did get to sort of give my post-match reaction to that one. Yeah, very disappointed in that. But no, in terms of the predictions, very excited to be doing the show, and delighted to be joined by Ben, obviously, and very hoping that I'm going to get a lot of these right. But there is a slightly biased slant to my ones, as you might expect as a United fan. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
And we do welcome Ben. He's also the janitor, according to Tom. So he's here to give us his wisdom. So are you confident? Are you not confident?
I mean, I think Leeds pretty spot on. Last year, I think he said 10th. I think they got 9th. So I backed Leeds to do well, and they did well. So that's something I've got, to my name. But yeah, no, known as a janitor, according to Tom, and it's not very nice, When he was looking around, for a host, and I stepped in, I helped him get the channel going, and now I'm known as a janitor.
That's terrible. And you help him with all the important behind the scenes work and all, don't you? And,
I do.
We're gonna have to have a
he was, before this show, he was calling me for being late for this show, and he was supposed to be doing it. That's how bad. Like, total disrespect all the time. I'm just underappreciated. That's what it is.
We will make you appreciated. You're appreciated on this show, Ben. You are appreciated
Thank you.
on this show.
Thank
All right,
you.
we will give you all that love. All right,
Thank you.
so I said we're going to start at number 20. We're going to work our way up to the champions. Then we're going to go for a couple of individual player awards. So I'm going to start off with 20th. My 20th team, the first team to get relegated. I've got Brentford. Listen, Brentford is the first year in the Premier League in a very long time. Very little money, very little experience in the squad. Terrible defense, attacking manager. Their home support will be good, but they have nowhere near enough to stay up in the Premier League this season. I think Brentford will be going down. Ben, who are you going? Who's your first team getting relegated?
I mean, bearing in mind that I wasn't supposed to be doing this, and I only had like 15 minutes before this actually happened. This is being recorded to do it. I've gone with a safe option and said Norwich, because I think both the previous times they've been up, they've been relegated, bottom of the division straight away. Which is not. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they're just like they don't have the funds to invest for the Premier League, basically.
George, what about you?
So we've got a three-way split then, but we are sort of concentrating on the newly promoted teams. I've gone for Watford.
Ooh.
Going for Watford. Okay, fair enough. Any particular reason?
Oh, to be honest with you, it was a toss-up between the. I'm not going to spoil it, but I just feel like the newly promoted sides aren't going to do very well. So before we get into the other sort of thing, I thought with Watford, I think obviously with Brentford, obviously I think they've still got Tony, haven't they, as well? So I think they're going to have. I think one of the important things in Premier League football is someone who can score goals. And I just think that's how I see it going, and I just think Watford very much will be cannon fodder, and I think they're going to be 20.
Well, I found this out from Doug the other day that Watford have 7 strikers on their books. So
What is Troy Deeney even still playing for them? Is he?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well,
they signed Josh King. Obviously you know Josh King. He was linked for United for about 6 years. My 19th place team is indeed Norwich. They're going to have a bit more experience in their team, but they're going to make the same mistakes they did in the Premier League last time under Daniel Farke. They're going to try to attack every man, no one to earth. They're going to be split open every time. Defensively, they're atrocious. Just a team of Pooker's not going to do anything up front again. I just think Norwich are destined to go down. Ben?
I went Brentford. I mean, if I was to say if there's a team that could be a surprise package this season, it's Brentford, because they play attacking football, which can get you results, but it's whether usually when an attacking team comes up, they either they get the wins through the attacking football, or the defense is just completely exposed. So it's which way it goes for them. So they could be the surprise package, but again, I've gone for the safe option and gone with Brentford.
I don't think we'll see another Sheffield United from Brentford. I'm pretty sure of that. I thought Sheffield United season was just special. Who's your number 19th team, George?
Norwich, same as you. Obviously, a massive yo-yo side that constantly go up, down, up, down, up, down. I think they're definitely. I think of all the teams, it's just basically where they're going to place. But I definitely think they're going down. They just never stick around, do they? So yeah, definitely being relegated. Yeah. I've got them 19th.
Right, my 18th team. This is going to surprise you guys. I've got Brighton. They're losing. They're losing Lewis Dunk. The goal scoring is still going to be a massive issue. They may be potentially losing one of their best midfielders. Very inconsistent, very bad into the season. I have just a funny feeling they're going to ship a few goals. They're not going to score that many. Midfield's going to be non-existent. So I feel like it could be the year Brighton go down slightly. Ben?
I went Watford. Just the safe option again. So,
how many managers do you think they'll go through this season?
At least 2.
At least 2. George?
So I've gone, which I wasn't going to sort of spoil it, but obviously I've pretty much the same as Ben, obviously, is that I've gone with all 3 promoted sides. So making up 18th will be Brentford, I think. Ultimately, I think they will struggle. I think all 3 of those sides. It's always it's always quite a safe option or a good logical solution to predict that the promoted sides will struggle. So yeah, I'm going with all three going down, but Brentford 18th.
17th, I've got Newcastle, Steve Bruce. They've had such a bad preseason. I know you don't look at the preseason games often, but their preseason results have been diabolically bad. And he's playing 5 at the back again. They just don't, I just feel like it's going to be the season. The players turn on Steve Bruce and it's going to end and them in a relegation scrap.
I went for Crystal Palace.
Is it because of Patrick Vieira?
Yeah, I don't. But do you know I don't rate him? Like, I mean, it's not. I'm not saying he's like the worst manager in the world, but like the 2 jobs that he's had previously, he's not done amazing. Like with New York City, he got him mid-table, I think, and then Nice, he got him mid-table as well. It's like it's not nothing amazing. Like, so I just can't see. I mean, I might be completely wrong, but I just can't see him doing something like amazing with Crystal Palace. But I mean, he might go and win the FA Cup or something. But yeah, that's what I've gone for them.
What about you, George?
So I've gone for Burnley being 17th. I think with Burnley, they tend to always stay in the division, but obviously, you know, and full credit obviously to Sean Dyche in the fact that obviously their budget and the size of their club is the smallest of it, so they always do very well for what the size of their club is, but they're always there or thereabouts, just hovering just above the relegation zone. What tends to happen with Burnley as well is they tend to get in quite a good position, but then sort of the size of their squad, and you know, I'm a big sort of proponent of the way that almost the table sort of lines up with finances, you know, in terms of how much money is being spent on sides in terms of wages and signings. And that's why Burnley are always somewhere, you know, because they don't have the resources of other clubs. They're always somewhere there or thereabouts. So I've gone for Burnley being 17th.
Okay, 16th, I've got Watford. Watford still have a good, decent core players from the Premier League. They'll sack managers. I'll probably work in their favour. So I feel like they'll stay up. Still got a good core of players. I think the last season they went out because Nigel Pearson was sacked. Otherwise, they probably would have stayed up. So I think Watford will stay up, and they'll be ahead of Newcastle because of Steve Bruce.
Yeah, I've gone Newcastle 16th because I mean, yeah, the not got the greatest manager, but a club like Newcastle should not be going down. Like they should, yeah. If they should be like, you know, just better than where they are, doing better than where they are. Like the stadiums they've got, the club history, you know, the infrastructure they've got, they should be just doing so much better. But you know, I think because obviously those factors are put them 16th. Like, but I like, yeah, I don't think they'll go down, but they will struggle. But like I say, a team like Newcastle should not be going down, really.
George?
So I've gone with 16th being Crystal Palace. Obviously, Ben put them in 17th for similar sort of reasons as that, really. Patrick Vieira, obviously, not necessarily a manager I rate either. A very aging squad. Probably, I haven't researched this, but I'm sure they've got the oldest squad, or at least close to it, in the Premier League. And obviously, the older the squad gets, the more tiring, the more sort of injuries you pick up, and also that the worse the results will tend to be without proper reinvestment, which Palace don't seem necessarily too eager to do. So obviously with Roy Hodgson as well leaving, it's quite a big shoes to fill because he was there for a significant period of time. And I just think initially as well, I think Crystal Palace will struggle. And when you're sort of like one of those teams that are sort of smaller teams, when you have a really bad start, it can be very hard to lift yourself up out of the table. So I think they'll have quite a very bad start, and then they'll sort of level off. But yeah, I definitely think 16th for Crystal Palace.
15th, I've got Crystal Palace. They've got some young, exciting players. Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. He's joining them on loan. That's confirmed today. They've obviously got Mark Guéhi. Keane is still in goal. Issue is strikers. Benteke is the only registered striker at the moment. Big issue with that. but I think they'll stay up. I think their whole form will be probably good enough. But I do see Patrick Vieira being sacked. I think that'll probably keep up in the end. Then.
I'm 15th. Have gone Burnley. So there's a bit of a theme going on here. Yeah, same reasons that you said. Like they punch well above the weight. Like they always stay in the division. Always grind out results.
It's the funny thing with Burnley. See the funny thing with Burnley. It's the City always hammered them at the end. He had 5-6, and then you go to Turf Moor and you bloody struggle. That's quite.
Yeah, well, it shows the different time of support as. But yeah, now the like in terms of sort of the finances and that, obviously they don't have it as much as other clubs, but the I mean, I know a lot of fans are like, "Oh, get them out!" Like they play awful football. Like, but that's just part and parcel of football, of English football. Like, there will be teams like that, and it's just a different way of playing. Obviously, I don't like it, but that's just part. Like, that's just part of it. Like, it's that's not for me to say, like, to dictate how they play.
They're one of those sides as well that you want your rivals to be playing against, because there's always a chance they're going to pick up. There's always a chance they're going to beat them or draw or
no.
make them
If they're well. To the other end, I'd have no hope.
But yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, like I mean, like you say, like it's I don't think it's fair just because like they don't play football you don't like to say, oh, get out of the division. Like it's that's just every team plays differently. So yeah.
Go ahead, George.
So we're on 15th now, aren't we? So I had Brighton. Obviously, you guys have already sort of spoken about Brighton, but I think what I like about Brighton again is they do have this sort of quite a keen philosophy about possession football, passing, and those sort of things. Obviously not necessarily the squad to support that, but they do have a good way of playing. And also, Brighton always tend to be sort of like in that sort of region between sort of relegation zone and mid-table. They all seem to be somewhere in that region whenever they sort of finish. So yeah, I think I'm relatively safe in putting them just above the relegation zone, but I think they'll be safe in 15th.
14th Burnley. I'm not going to say anymore, but Burnley. 10.
14th Brighton.
There we go, George.
I've gone 14th Southampton.
So, okay, yeah, certainly so they didn't end the season very well. Do you think Hasenhüttl could be sacked, Land, if they're that low down?
Possibly, but again, I think obviously with Southampton, it's just one of those things where they're not necessarily hitting the heights that they have done. And obviously the reason I placed them that low is because, well, obviously it's almost like a Michael Owen moment for me, but it's because I think there are 13 better sides in the division. I think they will be underneath, they will be behind. So yeah, I think Southampton just struggling. Obviously have been a feeder club for Liverpool for many, many years. And they just struggle to hold on to their best talent. And, eventually that's going to catch up with you. And I think that's what's being shown now in recent seasons. I think they don't have the pool of talent, and I think other sides, which obviously we'll get onto, just have much better squads. So yeah, I think they'll be 14th.
13th, I've got West Ham. They're going into the Europa League with 0 signings. They might lose Declan Rice, and if Antonio gets injured, they've got no other striker and no other goal threat. I think Stephen Moyes playing the same team for Thursday, Sunday, all the travelling. Antonio may get injured. They could lose Rice and they won't replace him. I think West Ham are in for a difficult season, but they'll still be relatively safe, Ben.
13th and Wolves.
Wolves. Okay, yeah. Now things are getting interesting now.
Managed, and if I'm right in saying, I think he only managed Benfica before. And obviously he won the league there, but like,
he was the assistant. He was the assistant manager at Swansea last year too.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's gonna do badly, but I think there just might be like that transition period. So I'm not like that's why I put him 13th. Basically.
George,
13th, I've got Newcastle.
High up.
I think so. Yeah. Obviously still got I think they've just got from my point of view, they've probably got more goals in them than the other teams that I placed lower down. That's just the way that I see it. So I'd also do not only obviously financially is one of my main criteria of how I rate where I place teams. I think that's probably is the main one, but not only that, but obviously it's whether they've got goal scorers or whether they've got goals in the team, because goals obviously do keep you up and do propel you up the table. Again, if you look at probably at the end of the season, it's almost, if you just arrange them in terms of goals scored, it's almost exactly the same sort of, tends to be relatively the same order. So I just see Newcastle having more goals than the other teams. So I think 13th.
12, I've got Wolves. Same transition period. Will Raul Jimenez come back to be a goal scorer? Will that injury have ruined his career? Adam Traore is a faster Daniel James. Defensively, very suspect. He looks like he's going to play an attacking 4-4-2 from what I've spoken to a Wolves fan, which is very dangerous in the Premier League. But I think they'll be okay. But I don't think we've seen the best of Wolves at their peak now. They're probably just going to be a mid-table team kind of going forward. Ben?
12th against Southampton. They probably, they'll probably struggle. They'll go through periods of doing all right, and then they'll struggle for a bit, and then go for another period of doing all right, and then they'll struggle again. That seems to be what they did last year. And I mean, I don't think if they come in that sort of range of sort of mid-table, lower mid-table, that Hasenhüttl will get sacked, because he's got that before and not been sacked, and also that's probably where they're at. But I mean, it shows how good of a manager he is, or how much they like him. That they've been smashed 9-0 twice, and he's still the manager. So he must be doing something right. But yeah, he's I don't like I said, I don't think he's a bad manager. It's just whether he gets the finances to
George.
So I've gone 12th being Aston Villa. Obviously, it's also dependent on whether City get Grealish, kind of. But at the same time, I don't necessarily. I'm sort of basing it on today. So at the moment, Jack Grealish is a Villa player, but at the same time, I think Jack is quite injury prone, as we've seen. Obviously, he does pick up lots of injuries, and that's when Villa sort of, they get quite high up the table when Grealish is playing. But then when Grealish is gone, they start to drop like a stone, because obviously they miss his sort of goals, assists, and just general creativity. They're just a much better side with him in it, as almost any team would be, I think, in the Premier League. So I think, again, they'll have one of those seasons that's very, if Grealish is still there, obviously, but I'm basing on the fact that he is as he is currently. I think that'll be sort of very up and down depending on whether he's in the team or not. And I think they will finish 12th.
11th, I've got Man City. I don't know if that's serious or not. No. I've got Aston Villa in 11th. But I'll say this now: if Aston Villa lose Jack Grealish, they're going to be 14th or 15th. But with Jack Grealish 11th, they'll be okay. They'll be anything special this year. Goals, strike. Ollie Watkins, could he do it 2 seasons in a row? Defensively, they were quite suspect. They've lost John Terry, which could be a big impact defensively too. Midfield, I'm not particularly excited about. So just I think 11th safe for Aston Villa, Ben.
Aston Villa as well. And I think, I mean, like you say, I think if we do get Grealish, they might drop a couple places, but I don't think they'll drop too much, because they've signed like Buendia and people like that I think will, compensate a little bit. They're not going to, directly replace Grealish, because that's impossible. But I do think they'll do all right, because Buendia is a good player. So
they've also still got Emi Martinez as well, haven't they? I mean, what a signing he was for them as well. Phenomenal keeper, incredible keeper.
Yeah, and Arsenal are spending 13 million on bloody Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah.
But I haven't spoken to Cam. I haven't spoken to Cam about it. I'm sure he's over the moon about that. Alright, go on. Did you say yours, George?
I haven't, no. So my 11th was Leeds. I think, again, with Leeds, as we know, I think Bielsa will just have exactly the same sort of tactics. So it's just all out attack, and some games they'll win, some games they'll lose, some games they'll draw. And I think they'll be very similarly, obviously, to last season, where they're sort of like in that mid-table bracket. comfortably, and I think 11th for Leeds.
10th, I've got Southampton. I think they'll do better than last year. I don't think Hasenhüttl will have them for their pace the same pre-season. The key is they need to keep Danny Ings and one at Southampton. So especially could go to Chelsea if we really are desperate for someone. Defensively, though, is a big issue. Goalkeeper 2, Alex McCarthy. He's went down such. George, you'll know he was highly rated.
Yeah.
He was in the England squad. His career went downhill. Fraser Foster could come in, but I don't think Hasenhüttl truly likes him because he's always in and out of the team. Vestergaard had a good Euros, but could he do it again? Again, keeping Ward-Prowse. But I just feel like they'll have a better year than that. I expect them to have a good FA Cup run, and I think they'll finish 10th, which would be a good season for them. Ben?
I've gone West Ham 10th because, like you, I think they will get affected by the Europa League campaign. But I just didn't. I think in my head I was like they won't get affected as much as you think they'll get affected. But I do think they will get affected. So they could be anywhere from 10th to mid to low table, depending on how much they get affected by that Europa League campaign. But
do you think they'll keep Rice?
I mean, there's rumours left, right, and centre, but I couldn't tell you to be honest. Obviously, if they keep Rice, that'll help them. If they don't, they still have a decent squad, but like you say, if Antonio gets injured, I'm not sure what they've got to replace Antonio. But yeah.
It's like that promising striker, Sebastian Haller, the guy who barely played. He's actually barely played. George?
He's gone to Ajax, hasn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I went exactly the same as Ben. So I went West Ham 10th. Obviously, as you spoke about the Europa League thing, but I think what will happen with them is they'll actually get eliminated quite quickly. So I think that will have the impact, as they won't necessarily have that schedule. So I think they'll get eliminated quite quickly.
Well, that's a good point because if with the squad they have, Moyes is either going to have to risk the Premier League or just bottle the Europa League.
I think he's going to.
I think the bottom of the Europa League will.
Yes.
That'll be the smart decision. 9th, I've got Leeds. They'll do great again. They'll score a ton of goals. They'll concede a lot of goals. I think 9th literally perfect for a team that literally scored and conceded the near enough equal amount of goals by last season. They'll get their results against the big teams, but they'll probably lose against the smaller teams. I think Leeds will be 9th. I think they will. I think probably like they kind of did there this season. They'll probably fall off towards the end of the season when the legs start to go with Bielsa ball. Ben?
9th, I've gone Leeds. I'm matching you two a little bit at the moment. So, got the footballing brain. What do you call it? Yeah, no, same. Like obviously they're going to play attacking football. They'll either smash teams or get smashed. Then there might be the odd draw in there. Although near the end of last season, because the legs went, they did start to get a bit better defensively. But with them having the legs back, they'll probably just go back to all out attack, probably. But yeah. So yeah, 9th, I think.
George?
Yeah. 9th, I've gone Wolves.
High up, very high up.
I think so. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Wolves anyway. In terms of, I do like the fact that again, I think
we always struggle against them.
No, I know. But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think Wolves again are a bit like, even more so than that I sort of spoke about Burnley being a sort of bogey team for the big teams. I think Wolves definitely, obviously. I think they've done very well against Man City. They tend to anyway. So they always tend to get some good results there as well. So I'm quite a big fan of Wolves, and I think they'll do well. I think obviously they've got new management, but I think it'll give them a new lease of life. Sometimes that can happen, and I also think they've got a good squad. I like how they play, and I think they're good side. So I think 9th for Wolves.
Okay, number 8, I've got Arsenal.
3 on the spin, 3/8 on the spin then for you.
I think Arsenal. Is it Arsenal? It's a weird. They've got no European football, which should realistically help, but I generally just don't think. Aubameyang struggling, Lacazette struggling. Their midfield is atrociously bad. They're spending 15 million on Ben White, 30 million on Aaron Ramsdale. Pepe's picking fifth from up. Okay, fair. Pepe's doing a bit better. Saka could do it, but his Arsenal team just don't throw me with excitement. And if they're still playing Willian and Burton Leno and Bellerin and all that,
I know. Willian and David Luiz are supposed to be leaving, aren't they? So.
Oh, David Luiz has already left. I think it's Willian. Willian is still technically there, and I just don't have good faith for Arsenal. I think Arteta's going to be sacked this season, and I think they're in for another mediocre season. I think they'll miss out on Europe again altogether unless they do win the FA Cup, which is obviously very capable of them. Ben,
8th I've got Everton. I think it's the same thing with Everton. They've got a good squad, but it's always like they get to this point and they just can't quite get there. You know what I mean? Like they always seem to just drop off, at the wrong time, or they just don't quite. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like they don't quite get the result that they need, and then. But yeah, 8th for Everton. I think they'll do well with Benitez anyway. Yeah.
And I've agreed with Ben again, so I've gone Everton 8th. I think, again, obviously got Benitez now, but I think it doesn't seem to matter which manager they get. Obviously, that they try and sort of break through that ceiling that Ben's sort of spoken about, and they can't do it because for whatever reason they just don't have the mentality to do so. Obviously, squad's good, and Everton always do well. Sort of, they're always in that sort of high mid-table region. And I think 8th for Everton.
Okay, 7th I've got Man United. No, I'm joking. 7th I've got Everton. I think Rafa Benitez will get them into Europe. I think they'll finally get to the European Conference League. But I actually think Rafa is a better coach than Carlo Ancelotti, and I think he'll do better with his Everton team than Ancelotti ever did, and I think he'll get them into European football. Ben?
Yeah, 7th I went Arsenal. I do think it will benefit them not being in Europe, but I don't think it'll benefit them as much as they would want, especially because of sort of. I think. Well, I spoke on the Golden Show when Cam was on, saying that I don't think they know what their identity is yet, and I don't think Arteta knows what he wants the identity to be. So they'll do all right, but I think they're still figuring out what they want there.
I think Cam would rather finish 8th and 7th than them playing up bloody Conference League. Conference League's a true. I honestly don't look forward to even watching it, George.
I've also agreed with Ben again, so I've gone 7th Arsenal. I think again, obviously, they'll have no European football, so that's obviously a bonus. They'll do relatively well off that, but at the same time, squad-wise, they always tend to with Arsenal. They always tend to have big aspirations with who they're linked to at the start of a window. And then by the time the window ends, they've always bought in some bargain basement terrible signings. So
did you see have a wee chat on Twitter or something before we started the show? Trying to gang up on me or something? You've both all got the same predictions. I feel like you're ganging up on me. It's like I feel very lonely out here.
No.
6th I've got Spurs. Obviously, very Harry Kane dependent here. Extremely Harry Kane. I take it you probably won't get Harry Kane, Ben. And, I feel like it's too much of a big deal for even City to try out, especially with Daniel Levy at the other end of the negotiations. I think they'll do okay, but they've lost Tony Alderweireld. He's went to a team in Dubai. They're trying to get Christian Romero, but they're way off the Atalanta valuation. Fullbacks are disaster. Midfield, especially CDM, disaster. Harry Kane had a terrible Euros, but he'll have a good Premier League season. Right wing, Cam, it's just so many uncertainty within the Spurs too. I think Nuno's play style isn't going to particularly help them. I think they'll probably get European League football again, like Mourinho was going to get with them. Ben?
6th I've gone Leicester. Just because they've been going for Champions League so long that I don't like. I mean, we probably all be in agreement that I don't think they'll be able to break into that top 4 this season either, and they might start to concentrate on the Europa League a little bit more to see if they can get it through that. So that's why they might take their eye off the Prem a little bit, and results might not be quite what they would be if they were concentrating on the Prem. That's just what I'm thinking anyway.
George?
So I've actually agreed with you on this one, Josh. I've gone Tottenham being sixth. Obviously, Nuno's going to sort of implement his new style. Tottenham all seem to do well, but ever since Pochettino left them, obviously they had a good core of players, but obviously they got older and obviously lost some of their ability, shall we say. So I think Tottenham, obviously, again, is, as you said, it's Harry Kane dependent, but I don't think. Obviously, City would have to make a massive, a ridiculous fee to, obviously, with Daniel Levy to get Harry Kane. So I think he'll stay, and I think Harry Kane's goals will be enough to keep Tottenham in and about there. So I think sixth Tottenham.
I'll have to go ahead and ask you, Ben. Is this Harry Kane deal for City? Is it realistic or hopeful?
I mean, it wholly depends on Levy. And I can't see him letting him go, and I can't even see him negotiating. And City, they put in that 100 mil bid, it was rejected, obviously, and they have shown a willingness to go to about 120. But that anything over that is they might as well be spending that money on Haaland. So, and then that 160 million bid is just absolute nonsense. Like, the City already came out and said we're not going to pay anywhere near that. Because again, if they're paying 160 million for Kane,
definitely
Haaland's only 150 million or plus. Go for Haaland, so. Yeah, I mean, if Livy shows a willingness to talk, then it could happen for maybe 110, 120, something like that. But if not, then I don't know where we're going to get a striker from, and we desperately need a striker.
Yeah,
So,
don't get me started on that, Ben. I could rant about needing a striker all for a few hours. I'll talk about that when I come to my Chelsea prediction. Fifth, I've got. You said your scores, didn't you?
I haven't said my fifth. No.
Nope.
I have. Sorry, to clarify. I did say my sixth. So yeah, we're up to your fifth. Yeah.
I've got Leicester. Same boat as Ben. I think they'll concentrate more on the Europa League this season because they kind of didn't go as far as they probably would have liked to. I feel like the four teams above them are probably too much stronger than Leicester. When you look at the squads, and the core and how they are and pack stadiums again. But I think Leicester will compete. I don't think they'll be in a situation where they're in the top four and drop out of it. I think they'll be in the round Europa League spots probably for most of the season. But I think that'll be another very, very good season for Leicester because the squad's they're still very young and it's only getting stronger. So that'll still be a very good season for Leicester. Ben?
I went Tottenham. Obviously it's contingent on them keeping Harry Kane. But I just think Nuno. I'm not saying he's going to win a trophy, but I think Nuno will do well with them. I think he's a good manager, and I know some people's like, oh, he plays defensive football at Wolves, and it's like he did last season, but that's only because they lost the main striker, so he had to. But the two previous seasons before that, they played good attacking football. So I think he'll do well. I'm not saying he's going to win a trophy, but I do think he'll do all right.
It's the European Conference. I think he has to win that. Sure, that's the easiest thing, knowing the man.
Yeah, I mean, there's Roma.
Mourinho, sure. George.
I've gone with you again, Josh. So I've gone Leicester being fifth. Three times on the spin. It'll be a hat trick for them, I think. 3 times being fifth. They're all sort of. I mean, as we're sort of going to get into anyway, I think we've probably all got, although we will have different orders for these big four. I mean, I think we've all gone for obviously the big four sides all being in the top four again for another season because just obviously the squads and the money that those four have compared to the other 16 teams is ridiculous. So I don't think there's a chance of Leicester getting in and breaking that down. So I think Leicester will be fifth.
Fourth, I've got my club Chelsea. Without a striker, it's going to be a top four fight. Jorginho, top goal scorer, 7 goals, all penalties. I watched a friendly we played against Bournemouth on Tuesday night. Tammy Abraham was missing some really, really good chances, and Tammy Abraham just does not look like that striker that's going to get you into a title race whatsoever. Pulisic was extremely quiet. Hakim Ziyech was okay. Chelsea team again to me, unless Ferrer or Havertz come in here and really do kind of light up the world, it's going to be a similar story to last season, where I think defensively will be okay and we look okay. Capello looked awful in that preseason game, which gives me really bad nerves. But I think it's going to be difficult quite a striker. If we can get Haaland or Lukaku, then it'll be a different story. But as things stand, I think it's literally going to be deja vu last season, where we'll fight for top 4. We'll fight for top 4. We'll struggle for top 4. We'll just edge it through defensively, but we're going to lose quite a few games or draw quite a few games without a natural goal scorer in the team. Ben,
Very, very pessimistic. I thought like I was the pessimistic one as a City fan. I think I based mine a little bit off if the signings do go through, but I've gone Liverpool. Obviously they'll be better, a lot better than they were last season. Like they'll have the injuries back and stuff, so I think they'll get it comfortably. And they're like this. The order of this top 4 could be any order really. It depends who has a better form.
Yeah,
in the season, but I just think sort of the front 3. I think they were starting to get a bit sort of, I don't know, like fed up or something. Like last season, they need a bit of a refresh. Maybe Jota going back will do that. But like I think they've signed Konate, and then they're not really signing another attacking player. So like it's going to be this similar front 3 who like the quality front 3, but you probably maybe need something different sometimes, which maybe Jota will provide. But yeah, for them.
All right, go George.
I've gone with the same as Ben, so I've gone with Liverpool being 4th. As Ben sort of spoken about as well, I think the front 3. I just think that Liverpool in a side in transition again. I think a lot of their players are old now, and sort of they were in their they had their peak a couple of years ago now, but they're not. Obviously, Van Dijk's now 30, isn't he? Who knows whether he'll be the same after coming back from his injury either. And I think with Liverpool, I think their owners as well aren't going to necessarily invest as much as they did a few years ago when obviously Liverpool had their success. So I think that squad isn't as strong as the other 3 squads. I think that's a big thing over a season. I think Liverpool's squad is slightly weaker than the other 3 because, again, obviously the other 3 have spent more money recently, is what I would say. So yeah, I've got Liverpool coming 4th, and obviously I think, like I said, I think a lot of their players are on the come down from their prime as well. So there's certainly going to be a drop off, I think. But obviously I may be wrong. As Ben sort of said, these top 4 could be in any order, but I think it'll be the 4 that we speak about. So
number 3, I've got Liverpool. They're fully packed Anfield again. It's going to make a massive difference to them. Van Dijk, yes, as ALC injuries could really take a long time to try and recover from. So there is, could he play every game like he could? Probably not. He lost a bit of pace probably, but I still feel like he's probably a big upgrade on what they had last season. Fabinho at CDM is really, really good. Probably up there and some of the best in the league. There's a big issue with goal scorer. Mane obviously showed last season. He needs to have a good season this year. They do go well in the Africa Cup of Nations, but that's just that Anfield form for me. That form just separates them from Chelsea for me. And I feel like at Anfield they would win the games by the scruff of the neck, which Chelsea couldn't without a natural goal scorer, and that's why I have those 2 for me. Ben.
I've gone Chelsea. This is partly a bit of superstition coming in because I'll tell you more about that in the next 2. But yeah, I've gone Chelsea. I mean, but they can quite easily come top if they sign a striker, i.e. Haaland, Lukaku. They could quite easily come top. So it's one of them. Like if you don't get a striker, like if you get a good run of form, you could come top. Obviously, it'll be difficult with a striker because you create so many chances and don't finish them. With a striker,
yeah,
done. Like you've got those chances in. But yeah, yeah, got a good squad. So
Fair enough. George?
I've gone the same as Ben again, so I've gone with Chelsea being third. I think obviously if they do have a better squad than Liverpool, again I'm sort of I think over a season the squad does tend to come into it, and I think with Chelsea I think they suffered a bit with obviously the managerial change. Obviously it was a good one to have, but obviously having Lampard for half a season was a bit of a setback. Compared to having, I think Thomas Tuchel for a whole season will be a big impact. I really am, as you know, I'm quite a big fan of Tuchel. And I think Chelsea will eventually make a signing. Hopefully, it isn't Haaland, because if it is Haaland, I think they'll, instead of me predicting third, that would really put them as close to being champions. I think with Haaland, just because he would be such an amazing player for you. Because as Ben sort of said, you do create a glut of chances. It's just the fact you've got Timo Werner as the person trying to score them, and he's absolutely atrocious. So I still think Chelsea will do well. And like I said, with Tuchel there for a whole season, I think they'll do slightly better than Liverpool. And again, with a slightly better squad. And I think a lot with Chelsea, I think you've got a lot of younger players as well, haven't you? Or at least younger than Liverpool. So again, that comes into it as well. Players coming more towards their prime, such as your best as the Mason Mount will be even stronger.
Right. So here we go. My second place.
I know exactly where you're going, Josh.
Yes, it is Man United. Man United, right? Man United should finish. It's hard because Chelsea could sign some, but Man United should realistically finish second. Well, De Gea and goal, Ferran and Maguire at centre back, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw. That's a great back four. Yes, you still got McFred. Technically, is what your two midfielders. That's why you're not going to win the league for one reason. It's McFred. They're awful. Bruno will have a great year. I think Sancho will probably not have as much of a good year as people hype him up to have. I think he'll struggle, especially at the start, but I feel like he'll come good. The left wing, Rashford's going to be missing for a while, so the left wing for me is a bit open. So that's another reason why I think he'll not win the league, because I feel like he'll struggle there. Cavani should be okay, but if Cavani gets injured, and who plays up front? Could Greenwood do it by him? He did it last year, so for me, they're still missing pieces within Manchester United for them not to win the league. I don't rate Solskjaer as you do, George. I think Solskjaer would be a big reason why you don't win the league. He'll stick with the 4-2-3-1. I still think he'll play defensive football. I still think he'll draw a lot of games that you should be winning. I don't think he'll create as many chances. So for the fact that McFred is still technically in midfield, left wing's a bit of an issue. I still think Solskjaer is going to be stubborn with his style of play from open play, and for that reason, I've got you guys finishing second. Ben, have you got Manchester City losing their league to their Manchester rivals?
No chance. This is so I've gone United second, but this is where the superstition comes in. Because if I were to predict United coming any lower than second, I would then start to think they're going to come and bite me on the arse and go and win it. But also, I do think they have got a good enough squad to come second. I mean, we've got a good enough squad to win it if they get a good run of form. And I remember saying at the start of the transfer window, I was like, if United really wanted to, they could go out and they could sign a centre back, they could sign a holding midfielder, they could sign Sancho, and they could sign a striker. That's, title challenges winning the league sort of thing. You've signed Varane, you've signed Sancho, Camavinga could come in, and the striker was the one that you didn't really need because you got Cavani for another year.
And
so,
yeah.
So, you're definitely going to be up there and going to be challenging, especially if you get Camavinga in, because like you say, with the midfield pivot of McFred, like they're not the greatest, but with Camavinga in there, he's a quality player. But yeah, you definitely, challenges. And I think in terms of the squad, with the signs you get in, you'll be getting closer to Chelsea. And even City, because I'll get onto City, but yeah, the squad is starting to get a bit more of a the backups starting to get coming now, aren't they, as well? So
right, here we go to the Manchester United fan. Have you got Manchester United winning the league?
I had to anyway. So obviously, logically, I would have it the other way around, but emotionally biased. Yeah, I'm going to have City finishing second. being pipped by my team.
Any particular reason, or is it just pure bast?
Oh well, to be honest with you, though, I do think that our first 11 will be obviously if City do get a striker, that would be a big thing. But I think City have shown signs of weakness, but it's just the fact, as you've sort of spoken about, is whether Ollie can turn these draws into wins. Because we were top of the table in January. City then went on an amazing run, but not only did they go on an amazing run, but we also lost too many points. So by the time that we obviously beat them at the Etihad, this title was almost over at that point. I think it obviously went down to a single figure amount of points disparity, but really that game should have been much more closer in terms of points and actually putting some pressure on City. So I think having Varane in there is a massive upgrade, obviously on Lindelof. Defensively, not too many better back fours, I think, in the league, really. Obviously, Luke Shaw's been the outstanding Premier League left back last season and will probably continue to be. Obviously, Rafael Varane, phenomenal centre back. Ruben Diaz obviously does well for City, but he was absolutely terrible in the Euros, like horrendous.
That's Portugal, that isn't this.
But it's one of those things though, where I thought, how is this? But it's because City keep the ball so often. So if you have the ball, if you don't have, obviously Portugal don't like to keep the ball, didn't like to keep the ball as much, and obviously if possession's 9/10 of the law or whatever the saying is, and that's why with City you don't, for example, with Ederson, you don't necessarily see him having too much to do. Whereas obviously I've seen lots of games over the years with Ederson or with any Manchester City keeper where they only concede like one or two shots and both of them are goals or one of them's a goal. So you always have a chance against City because obviously their keepers are, for good reason, obviously, all ball playing, but obviously not necessarily too good at shot stopping. But obviously Diaz, I think, is very similar in terms of the fact if City have the ball, he's not going to be under too much pressure and obviously looks better as a result. But Varane, like I said, it's a massive upgrade, really good centre-back, I think, and he's going to push us further up the field. I think Sancho's going to have a very good season as well. I think he's going to be a good option for us on the right. Obviously, Edinson Cavani, I think he'll be in the team for a lot longer as well, because obviously we were quite unlucky with him because of the stupid board, that they brought him in so late and then he had to quarantine and then he had obviously the issues with the misunderstanding regarding his language, obviously when he got suspended and obviously Uruguay and FA wrote in about it, didn't they, as well, to say about it. So I think Cavani will be available more often, and I just think Manchester United will do slightly better. So I think they'll finish first. What I would say on this, just before we go on to obviously our first place, I know you've both got City and obviously I'll have United, but I think Ollie is the main reason why we will fail. As you know, I think with a better manager, if we had Klopp, Tuchel, Pep, any of those three, I would say that we would be nailed on to win the league. But Ollie is such a massive handicap because he's such a terrible, comparatively to, even if you're going further down the table, I think he's one of the worst managers in the league. I think he gets pulled up by an amazing squad of players. But I'm hoping that he's going to finally, with those new players, hopefully with, as you said, like Camavinga or someone like that as well, I'm hoping the team is going to be good enough to win the league by themselves almost.
Okay, so City going to win the league. No drama for that. City. See, it's the issue because obviously you're going into the league with Jason as a striker, but
no.
And Mahrez, Phil Foden, just starting to find his form from the Euros, Kevin De Bruyne, and you've just actual goal scorers outside of what Aguero was. Like, he still won the league last year by a mile, and Aguero wasn't even in the team. So for me, pretty sure still win the league. I don't think it'll be a runaway. I do think you'll be fighting United, but I feel like Solskjaer's defensive negative ways and those draws will be the difference between the two. I think you'll win the league, and I'm going to put another prediction. I think you're going to win the Premier League. I think you'll win the Champions League, and then Pep Guardiola will leave at the end of the season.
That's a prediction. Nah. Well, I wish I had your confidence. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. No, I was going to say that this us winning it is very contingent on us getting a striker. Because I think if we get a striker, we probably will be challenging, but I think we'll be struggling a lot more. We'll find it a lot more difficult. Like if we don't get a striker, we could quite easily drop to third or fourth, I think. But and I think Chelsea will probably be a lot closer to United and City than you think, to be honest. But like I was going to say, yeah, the like you say, any one of these teams could, be title winners, like United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, especially if City get a striker, Chelsea get a striker, United get that holding midfielder, Liverpool maybe get an attacking reinforcement. But it's for City, it's a difficult one because I don't think, I mean, like you say, it works last season, but I don't think we can go through another whole season just playing false nine, because you need to obviously it will work like sometimes, but sometimes you need to have that alternative, which is a striker, and Jesus is not good enough. Torres could do it maybe, but he's still young, so like it won't be like he's going to come in and like smash it straight away. But like, I mean, United have got a better strikers than us at the moment, so that shows where we're at with our strikers. Yeah.
Okay, George.
Yeah, so United finishing first. Obviously, like Ben sort of spoke about as well, I think with City, I don't, again, it will kind of contingent on that striker situation, because again, as he's sort of spoken about, I don't necessarily see that they can continue not to play sort of with this false nine all the way through. And obviously, like I said, I just feel like United have made some good reinforcements, as Varane and Sancho, and are really looking positive in the right direction. And obviously, again, like I said, player for player, we do have an amazing set of players. Obviously, hopefully Pogba's going to stay, by the way, as well, because we do need him as well. But yeah, so I think United will finish first. Obviously, we do have, like I said, Edinson Cavani. He needs to stay fit, in that respect, because with him playing, we're a totally different side, because he's such a phenomenal striker. Arguably the best in the league. He's probably the best in the league, in my opinion, in a way, as a striker, Cavani. Obviously, throughout his career, I think sort of when he came to us, only Ronaldo and Messi had scored more goals over a certain time period. Obviously, like 10, 12 years. So Cavani's a ridiculous striker. You watch him, and he's just, again, I don't want to sort of rave about Cavani too much, but he's just a phenomenal player, and completely changes. And I think with Sancho on the right now as well, to give him supply line, obviously with assists and goals, I think we're just going to be much more potent, and it'll give us more diversity as well, having a strong right hand side, because a lot of our attacks would keep going down the left. So I think we're going to be a totally different side, and I think Varane is it's going to be such a big influence on our side, probably the biggest of all. So I think United win it, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Young player of the season, I've with Saka. I feel like he'll really. I hope it's not Trent, because Trent apparently wins it every year, and that's just boring. I think Saka will have a great year for Arsenal, especially in the Europe. I think he'll be firing all cylinders in the Premier League. Ben?
Foden. Like
so biased.
Is he young? Is he young enough? Is he still young enough?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Foden.
I think it's 23 and under, isn't it? I think at the start of the season.
Right. Yeah. Phil Foden then, because he's quality, and I'm biased, but also and also I didn't get much prep for this part. I didn't realize we were doing this bit until right before we started recording, so I'm winging this.
You can tell what George's face is going to say Mason Greenwood.
I'm not going to say Mason Greenwood, because Jadon Sancho will count, won't he? He's only 21, I think, now, Jadon Sancho. So he's definitely within the age category, and I think he was just going to light up the Premier League. I think with assists and goals, and I think he'll form a very good positive partnership with any of the players we play with. I think he's going to be an absolute revelation. I think he'll be creating goals, assists. He's again a bit like Bruno Fernandes. He gets goals and assists just Jadon Sancho. Obviously, he's very much a player who's always in and amongst it. So I think he'll get a lot of goals, a lot of assists, and he will be Young Player of the Year. And obviously, if we're winning the league, in my prediction, then that's always a good place to start as well.
True.
Golden Boot, Harry Kane. But regardless if he's at City or Spurs. Ben?
Yeah, Harry Kane, safe option. I mean, you'll have. It wholly depends. I mean, if Chelsea get Haaland, he could be, challenging for that. But yeah, Kane's the safe option. I'm trying to think of the strikers that could match him, but there isn't really. So
Jesus.
no chance. Oh, it's not awful.
George, you're going to say Mason Greenwood?
I've gone also with Harry Kane.
George, you're going to say...
I've gone with Harry Kane. I
thought you were going to say Mason
I probably
Greenwood.
should say Cavani, but I think Ollie will try and rest him a bit more than he should do. And obviously Cavani will want to rest as well, obviously with his age and stuff, and to
Well, Ollie doesn't rest players. What do you want about?
He does with Cavani. He does rotate with Cavani. That's one of his. But there are certain players he won't rotate, which is obviously the main four, which is Luke Shaw. Isn't Luke Shaw? Sorry, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which we might rotate a bit more if we have a backup right back, whether obviously if Trippier arrives, and also Harry Maguire. Obviously, he doesn't rotate him at all. He doesn't rotate Bruno Fernandes, and he doesn't rotate Marcus Rashford. So those four I've just mentioned, he doesn't rotate, but everyone else he does give a lot of rotation to.
When you talk about backup players to Wan-Bissaka, I don't think Dallo did himself any justice yesterday.
that defending on that second goal was absolutely atrocious. But I think, so Golden Boot, obviously, just because of the fact that Cavani won't get as many minutes as he should do, because then I would have Cavani, I've also gone with Harry Kane. And I think the only other one that might be in and around there is Mo Salah, because we all know that he's always somewhere in that region, just because he's a bit like Harry Kane. When you sort of win these Golden Boots often in the Premier League, you're a bit of a flat track bully. So they get lots of goals in small patches, and then obviously they sort of like work it that way. And both Mo Salah and Harry Kane are a bit flat track bullyish. So I think it'll be one of those two, but I've gone with Harry Kane overall.
Player of the season, Bruno Fernandes. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think it's this far. I think
Is he gone?
I think Bruno Fernandes. Oh.
I think you are back.
Nope.
Connection problems. Oh. We're back. All right, we're back. Okay. Wait, George, you went from being like this to this real quick. I was like, he didn't even move. And we have Bruno Fernandes. Kevin De Bruyne had a very quiet Euro. He was very quiet into the season. I feel like he's starting to slowly be figured out in terms of how you stop him. He just looks like he's not the same player as what he was. I feel like peak De Bruyne is now past, and I think Bruno.
I agree with that.
Bruno. I think so. I'll take over. I think Bruno Fernandes is my player of the season. Ben, you're going for Yep.
I can say
I knew that was coming.
Just completely disregarding that he got an injury. So it's fine. It's fine. No, it's all right. No, it's all good.
That's the thing with De Bruyne, though, isn't it? He is picking up a lot more injuries now. Obviously, it was unlucky with regards to the one. Obviously, was it Rudiger, wasn't it, that hurt him in the final? Obviously, he also went off injured in the FA Cup final as well, didn't he? I think, the FA Cup semi-final. Sorry, not. Yeah. So I think, as Josh has sort of said, I think his peak is over. I think he is slowing down now. I think he is on the downward track and he's picking up too many of these injuries. So I think he is going to struggle as well. But what I have put here is, I'll get to mine anyway. Obviously, I'll let you have your turn. But just on Josh's point, I think, De Bruyne is slowly on the downward curve.
Okay. That brings the end to our predictions video. That was
just very quickly then. So just before we do finish, Ben, who was your player of the season? Who do you think will be De Bruyne then?
Kevin Bruyne.
Yeah, let's go Kevin De Bruyne.
So I've gone on my player of the season. I said that De Bruyne would be given it by the players because obviously they gave him it 2 years in a row because on the second, obviously he deserved it the first time, but the second one is just because obviously these players don't pay any attention to anything. Obviously, there were plenty of players last season, especially obviously Diaz as well, for example. There are plenty of players who had better seasons overall than De Bruyne, but they just think, oh, De Bruyne, well, let's just tick his box for these players. But I've gone for the journalist one, which obviously will be the one that we're doing, which tends to be the sort of general player of the year. I've gone for Raphael Varane. That's sort of based on the fact that, as you know, I've got United winning the league. And also, obviously, in the same way as like Ruben Diaz obviously won it last year, coming straight into the league, and what amazing thing he had. Van Dijk has won it in recent years as well, and I'm hoping as well as predicting that Raphael Varane is going to have a similar impact at Manchester United and win the Player of the Year.
Yeah, KDB is going to get 20 plus assists.
So
for the Player of the Year.
Yeah, well. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, that brings at the end to the Golden Show predictions here. So we will all hopefully this channel's obviously start running in a year's time. But maybe Ben's going to go from janitor to a person in Tom's books. But also Tom, you're very well loved by we love you here. You just keep being late and keep pissing Tom off on purpose.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But thank you very much for coming on, because obviously I've had a bit of a nightmare in terms of people not coming on, saying they're going to come on but couldn't come on for other reasons. See, you've been on the show 3 times, and Tom's only been on it once, man. He's meant to be the owner of this channel. He's meant to be leading the front race. Meant to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we should. I think we should promote Ben into Tom's role, put Tom down to janitor.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Actually.
George, is it domestic for? What are you voting for?
It's been a really great show, Josh, as always. Hopefully, we're all going to be. I don't think any of us are going to be exactly right on things, but just obviously, if anyone who's watching it, if you want to drop your predictions in the comments, obviously we'll have a look through those as well, and you can revisit those in a year's time again.
Absolutely.
As well, so get involved in the comments, guys, and
justice for KDB. Justice for KDB.
My final question to you, right? Is it? No, Bruno Fernandes will win it. My final question. This is a good one to come back to. Out of your prediction, do you think could bite you in the ass the most? The Brighton one for me could probably bite me in the ass, because Brighton probably won't go down. But I'm simply judging it off their squad last season. So I feel like the Brighton one would bite me in the backside very, very hard, because they'll probably finish 12th or 13th. They probably won't get relegated. So yeah, that's going to bite me. Ben, what one do you think to?
I've gone very safe, but the one that stands out that a big difference to use was the Tottenham one. That's the only one I could think of, really.
That's perfect, because Tottenham could upset all. It's the Spurs at the end of the day. George?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I'm quite happy with all of mine, actually. I think the only one that might actually be slightly worse, I think, obviously they could have been totally the wrong order, obviously, but I think maybe Palace could be even worse than 16th. They could even get relegated. Depends how long they're going to let. It depends obviously with Patrick Vieira. He's very much, as with all, I think it's very difficult when the new managers come in. I think that'd be a good place to start, is with all the clubs that have new managers, because it's very difficult to know how they're going to work and how they're going to gel in. So I think Palace are in quite a sticky situation. Obviously, with Hodgson's left in relative disarray, obviously with an aging squad. So I think maybe Palace, and obviously I've gone bold with United winning the league. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that brings the end to the show. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, share, check the links up. Check the links up the guys below. No hashtag Kevin De Bruyne. Don't please no.
Hashtag justice for KDB.
No, don't guys, don't. Hashtag justice for Chelsea winning the league, and that was completely wrong in a good sense. As I said, if you guys also please do check out the Blue Podcast. Show with Formula One. Apparently Ben was late again. Tom was complaining like that, so that's got no words to say.
Like, I wasn't even supposed to be doing this one, and he was like, "You're late." I was like, "Well, I got roped in 15 minutes before it was supposed to start," and he was like, "It's not good enough." Like, I didn't even know I was doing this. Oh dear.
Listen, do check out the link. So, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, cross that we will have Connor. Random players between George, Bear and George will be okay to make it, and Connor. So we'll have some interesting opinions, because I know from speaking to Connor and George, there's very different contrasted opinions on some players. So that'll be a really, really, really good show. And also make sure to check out the Sky Blue show that Ben and Jan and I think it's Luke, I think you call him, recorded. Again, all of that is on the Blue Podcast. You can actually from Manchester City fans social media. I know we provide miracles here in the Blue Podcast.
Right.
But anyway, that brings the end to us. Thank you guys for watching, and we will.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Why do you let us hurt one another just for the dollar? Did you lose your heart in the darkness deep in your pocket? No, I don't care of the price I pay. I don't wanna spend my life that way. Tell me, is the pain that you're causing worth what you profit?
Yeah, I know that money don't buy happiness, but buys you more material shit. Been reworking how I think and what it means to be rich. I used to think it meant to flex, so Rolex on my wrist. Feels bad to take more than you give. Lately hate how we live. I never wanna become the things that I hate. With a man in the mirror with laughing spit in my face and tell me that the money is maybe another fake. I've been drowning in my mind and my money's been at it. Wait, oh Lord, please save me. I should've known that something man-made couldn't make me. I say I'm making music, or is music what creates me? I never have an answer, same question every day. See, when we pass on, all our things are passed on to the next. Everything we didn't do is everything we regret. Every day we fucking work for this worthless check. If you're not happy, you're forever in debt. You're forever in debt.